least for the time being. All right, a little bit of backstory will help set the stage. I worked for either the Mankato Free Press or the company that owns the Free Press from 1999 to 2014. I was involved in or built myself several of the earliest versions of the Free Press website, including, I'm ashamed to admit, a paywall. Regret that to this day. I didn't do the very earliest version. That honor goes to Greg Abbott. So since 1999, when I started there, I began dreaming about an arts and culture portal. So that's a long time this thing's been stewing and cooking. Now I have to admit it, I'm not a huge fan of Minnesota in January. I tried to flee Mankato twice. In 2007, when I had the chance to move to Alabama to work for the Free Press's corporate parent, I jumped at the chance. The idea was for my family to follow, but we had a junior at West High School at the time, and as you might imagine, he wasn't a fan of that idea. After a year in Birmingham, I moved back. Then, in 2014, after 15 years with the company, I had the opportunity to become the IT director for a large printing firm back in Birmingham. And yes, I'm sorry to admit it, I jumped at that chance too. So less than a year after my wife and I sold our beloved home in the tiny North Hill neighborhood of Mankato and bought another house in Alabama, the company I had moved for was sold and I was laid off. After some soul searching, we came to the realization that Mankato was home, and we decided to come back, again. Literally, on the drive back, we decided we were just staying put. We realized we loved the Mankato area, and that was perfect for us. Mankato was going to be home for the duration, even through the 20 below Januaries. On that drive, we also decided that we were going to try to make a contribution to the community. We're going to do what was in our power to make it a better place. But how to do that? Well, perhaps it was time to build that arts and culture portal I had been dreaming about for over 17 years. There are some specific problems that we're trying to address. I've lost count of the number of times I've heard someone, especially younger folks, say, there's nothing to do in Mankato. On a similar note, I've heard time and time again that even if there are things to do, it's not particularly easy to find what those things are. The backbone offering of Mankato Life is a comprehensive events calendar that lists everything there is to do in one place. The secret sauce is simple. We manually scour every source we can find and add the events to the calendar where they can be viewed by day, by city, or by category. Around Halloween and Christmas last year, it wasn't unusual to see 70 or more events for any given day. Now I know there are tons of great calendars all over our area. There are great Facebook groups curating events. Even the search engines are a great source. But you'll have to go to all of them and then sort through the results to get the big picture. On MankatoLife.com, you can get them all in one place. Finally, my deep desire is to execute Mankato Life with some heart and soul. I want it to be easy to use and easy to look at. Our primary business model is strictly local advertising. We'll not be accepting advertising from ad networks or companies from outside of southern Minnesota. We're also always brainstorming other creative ways to generate revenue while maintaining the integrity of the site. I'm open to all ideas. And finally, on the back burner, we're laying plans for a couple of statewide sites that hopefully will help us support this Mankato habit of ours. In addition to the events calendar, Mankato Life offers a comprehensive directory of area attractions, which can be sorted by city or category. We have a comprehensive bar and restaurant directory that has everything tagged by feature, including takeout, drive-up, and online ordering, which is especially helpful these days. We've compiled a directory of local original shops to encourage visitors and locals alike to shop small in our region. And in cooperation with Twin Rivers Council for the Arts, we'll soon begin a working artist directory to replace a similar offering at the state level, which is going offline. We publish featured stories about people and groups in the region doing creative things, written by several of the area's best freelancers. And finally, Part of my dream is to offer a collaborative space for local community members who may want to publish a blog, a vlog, or a podcast that's of interest to the larger cultural community. As we gain some critical mass traffic-wise, it will boost these efforts, which may not be able to generate the needed traffic on their own. Perhaps the easiest way to remember what Mankato Life is all about is to recall our tagline: arts, leisure, and all the fun stuff. Kind of sums it up, and sometimes we even shorten that to just all the fun stuff. Please check out the site at www.mankatolife.com and share it far and wide. That's it.
2 seconds to spare. I'm impressed. All right, let me get my timer on just so that we stay very on task. And we've got 20 minutes. So great job, Don. That was awesome. Very, very well spoken. My goodness, I'm impressed. Can tell you've been in the news and just being able to talk well with others. That's awesome. So let's go. Who has any questions, comments, ideas, connections? You can either raise hand.
I got a interesting. I was wondering, what's your timeline as far as expansion? I'm in the metro quite a bit, especially in the bar and restaurant areas. Are you looking at a certain timeline in the future here where you're going to tap into that resource?
Bobby, I'd be surprised if I moved into the metro, but we own all the surrounding towns that are life domain names. For like example, New Home Life, Wasika Life. We've got as many of those as we could count or pick up, and I do intend to spread from our region. I doubt that I would try to go to the cities and compete with City Pages or others at this point. Who knows what the future holds, but it's not part of my plan right now.
Right, right. The reason I just mentioned that is, you know, I'm kind of flapping around there quite a bit in that metro area, and it seems like there's two dominating sources that are coming out of there right now, and that's that hook and ladder operation and the Mortimers, and the other side of it is the First Ave group, and that between the two groups, they pretty much dominate that whole industry. But on your side of it now, on your in our region here, you know, our entertainment division right here alone in like a New Ulm, St. Peter alone is very, very strong.
Yes,
And the New Ulm Mankato St. Peter combination is just as strong as anything I've seen in any part of the country.
right, agreed. I'm open to ideas, Bobby. You know, I love to build things. So let's put our heads together and come up with some ideas. I'm wide open.
Well, if you want to, if you definitely want to, I have some resources in Minneapolis, and I'll do some name dropping. And you know, it would be nice to just to see what kind of response we'd get. But I'll definitely do that for you, man. I like it.
All right, let's go to Lydell next.
Don Del Marion. It's been a long time, buddy.
Hey, brother. Are you in Mankato now?
Of course not.
Oh.
I wish.
Oh, you just saw it on Facebook.
Don and I I saw it on Facebook. Don and I used to work together, and I haven't seen or worked with Don since 2012. I actually live in West Des Moines, Iowa. And Don, you're still doing great things, buddy. I'm proud of you. I just have one question.
Yes, sir.
Considering I live in West Des Moines, I'm sorry?
It's really good to see you.
Good to see you too, buddy. Considering I live in West Des Moines, Iowa, how can I help? Currently, right now, I am retired, but I'm working with my son, and my son has created the Inclusive Cultural University.
Yep.
For those that like to take a look at the website, it's icuworldwide.com. And Don, whatever I can do to help, to promote, I would certainly love to do that. So if we can talk either offline or whatever works for you, just want to know how I can help.
I appreciate that, brother. I'd love to catch up with you.
And Tyler, you're next.
See if I can find all the unmutes that I can do. So Don, there's really two avenues for your business, right? There's content and then there's advertising. Do you struggle more with content, more with advertising, or both?
Good question. We've got a fantastic crew of freelancers that have come around the site. I've got no shortage of people to write stories. That effort's being led by a young lady named Grace Brandt, who is fantastic, and quite a few other fantastic freelancers. I think I've got the content that I'm paying for, featured content. I can write as many stories as I can afford and the people have time to write. And as I mentioned, I'd also like to see this platform become kind of a collaboration space for the community. So absolutely the hardest part right now is advertising. I'll be honest, this site has not made a dime yet. And I'll explain when we get to the how can we help. I'll explain why then. So yeah, that's the bigger struggle by a long shot for me. Thanks.
And Michael Luke, you are up next.
Thank you. Hey, Donald, this is Michael Lowe from the New Ulm Area Chamber of Commerce.
Hi, Michael.
Hi. So my big thing is I'm always busy, and my calendar I live by, because if it's not on there, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Are you going to have some kind of sync formula so that it goes right into Outlook or goes right into my Google Calendars?
Yeah, any of the events you can click on, it'll go right to your calendar, even now.
Yvonne, I think you have a question.
Sure, I do. I was thinking about the business, the business model. You were saying that, you haven't gotten in the black yet. You mentioned earlier that you're not taking advertising from any place other than local. Could you explain why are you limiting yourself and not allowing that other kind of advertising to help you with your cash flow?
Well, yes, I can. So first of all, even to this day, CNHI, which is the company that owns the Free Press, is running software that I built to manage advertising for all these websites, over 100 newspapers, or at least it was when I was there. And I understand these networks pretty darn well. And first of all, there's not a lot of money in them. Unless you're a really, really high traffic site, the money is fairly minimal. So for the amount of money that I could be making, even when my traffic is high, for the pollution, if you'll allow me, that puts on your site, it's just not worth it for me. And so the cost per thousand ratio for anything local is going to be way higher than anything that you have through a network. And even at this point in history, where I could use a little bit of revenue quick, it's not enough to make it worth it for me to really what it would do to the integrity or lack thereof of the site. And really, even more importantly, I really have a hyper local vision. I just really want this thing to be local, local, local. It's very important.
So what other avenues are you thinking of to either decrease your costs or increase your revenue? Because if it's a drain on your personal resources, how long can you sustain that, right?
Yeah, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
So I've put quite a bit of my own savings into this, and with our good friends at SBDC, we were getting ready to take some steps to take this thing to the next level, right when the plague hit. So right now I'm kind of treading water, and I've done everything I can to reduce expenses. I won't give you a number, but I think you'd be pretty amazed at how cheaply I'm running this thing right now. I can sustain it for a while. Really, my only real expense, significant expense, is paying writers. I don't want to stay that way. I want to start putting money back into the community. But for now, in tread water mode, the expenses are very low.
All right, Don, we have another question from Jana. So Jana, if you would unmute yourself.
Yeah, Don, I was just wondering, I see you have all the local shops and such, but do you have a spot that you list home-based businesses, since there are a lot more of us that are home-based now?
Yeah. You know what? We started with just local shops, Jana, and we've it's been a tough thing to define. And one of the ways we defined it at first was where the shop is kind of a destination business. It might be thought of as something to do. It's really a tricky thing to define. I'm very open to opening this directory wide open. I just need a little bit more help to do it. I wouldn't mind making a business directory. But again, the one thing I won't compromise is it's local businesses. So even a franchise might not make that cut. It's kind of hard. It's a tough thing to do. And believe me, I've even checked with my attorneys and things like that. Do I have the right to do that? They said, you absolutely do. It's a tough one, but I'm wide open to expanding it to smaller businesses and home-based businesses.
I was thinking that might open up the advertisers as well, because, you know, we need to see our names listed out there to want to be able to put money into.
That's right. That's fair.
All right, Mitchell, you're up.
Thanks. Got just a really quick maybe thought question of maybe you could, if it's possible, to come up with a product or service package that you could partner up with local Mankato businesses that maybe they're home based or storefront, but maybe that could be an idea of generating some type of revenue, of coming up with a unique product service package partnered with the local community that you can advertise and offer through your publications and the resources that you have through Mankato Life.
So Mitchell, do you mean kind of like a shared store? A retail
or just
store?
like a shared promotion, even if it's not like a continued offering. People like hearing limited time offer promotion, support Mankato. I don't know, that's something where if I got an ad on my phone, or if I was just exploring things in Mankato and that had came up, I'd definitely give it an interest.
Yeah, I like the idea. I might need to flesh it out a little to understand what you mean, but I love it.
All right, I believe iPad number 2. I'm not sure who's on that has a question for you.
Yeah, good morning. Jim Whitlock.
Hi,
And
Jim.
I'm over here. Good morning, Don. I'm over here in North Mankato. My question is, if I'm on Mankato Life, then can I link to New Home Life? Or do I have to go back out and then re-go back in?
Can you say it one more time for me, Jim?
Yep, excuse my voice. If I'm on Mankato Life, can I link then to New Home Life?
I see.
Do I have to go back out?
Okay, so right now there's no content specifically for New Home Life. We're not covering it aggressively. When someone sends me something, I'll put it on the calendar. But when we start branching out to St. Peter Life, to New Home Life, to Wasika Life, to Owatonna Life, it will be one giant site with several different faces. So it'll be all the same. It'll just geographically check where you're coming from, and it'll display to you New Home Life instead of Mankato Life if you're coming from New Home. And then when those options are, when there's really some different content, someone can switch manually. There'll be a device or a mechanism for switching manually between city sites then too.
You know, Don, because about 16 years ago, I started the business on Belgrade Association. And that was one of the hardest things we had, was getting our information on our events out and getting it published somewhere. And I applaud you for this. I think you've got a very good idea here. Thank you.
If you're still in contact with the existing business on Belgrade people, tell them to send me their events, because they don't even respond to my emails.
Oh, okay. Okay. I know they're a little discombobulated right now. I've moved on from there. I'm on the city council here and stuff, but
yeah,
I will make sure, Don, that they get that information to you. I
would love to work with them. And you know, really a big part of my heart on this thing is collaboration. I don't want to compete with anybody. There's going to be some competition, but for the most part, my heart is to say, let's work together. I've even considered taking this thing nonprofit, but really I've got an awful lot of my own money into it. And if I could figure out a way to recoup that at the end, well, maybe we could do that still. But just so you know what my heart is about.
Real good. Thank you, Don.
All right, Gary, you're up next.
Hey, thanks. And again, excuse me, good start, and great photos on your presentation, Don, as we talked. And so kind of along Jim's angle here, when you settled on Mankato Life, is that too limiting? It seems to me, it's about having enough content. And personally, I look at South Central, around Mankato. So I just don't always think, what can I only do in Mankato, of how to, and you kind of got into it, that you had maybe a master portal. Would that be called something South Central Life, or a different name that's broader? I mean, Jim, who North Mankato, maybe North Mankato people would say, hey, Mankato Life, hey, North Mankato, what about us, type of thing. So being inclusive, but not so broad that, yeah, we're not the Twin Cities, we're this particular, this River Valley area. I'm just wondering, you have an idea to expand, so it's not like you're married just to say Mankato, right. Of how you figured your strategy is starting out just Mankato Life rather than a more broader site, and be pulling in, even though New Ulm may not have a lot of content yet, to start a trickle coming in so it would grow. That's kind of my question. It's very well worded.
No, that's a fair question. So why did we start with Mankato Life instead of a broader topic? Maybe I had a conversation with the director of the St. Peter Chamber of Commerce about this very thing. I said, how do you feel about the idea of Mankato Life? He said, look, we understand whether we like it or not, we're part of the Mankato area. Now, I have every intention of having stpeterlife.com and putting that face on it with St. Peter content rising to the top. But I think for the most part, people think of us as the greater Mankato area. And I definitely wanted to avoid branding anything greater Mankato. It's just, not the way I wanted to go. I want to collaborate, but, not be part of that brand. That would be a problem, I think, in a lot of ways. So I do think it is narrow in some ways, but I also think that as a starting place, people generally understand the greater Mankato area to be inclusive of much more than just Mankato.
Maybe, and Don, maybe that Michael Loof from New Ulm, the New Ulm Chamber Director, is online, or was online. That Michael, you have any comments back to Don as far as how you seeing incorporating New Ulm into this website?
We have a community calendar. It's not perfect. I'll be honest. It needs a lot of enhancements. And I'm sure, as Don has already figured out, getting everyone to input on it is probably the biggest challenge. We put a lot of staff time to scouring Facebook and all those little events that maybe people miss, like when the American Legion is doing something or whatever. So that's probably the biggest, time vortex that we have on the calendar right now. So, I mean, collaborating, hey, if it brings people to New Ulm and they spend money, I'm okay. So that's the big deal.
Well, maybe we should talk about this, Michael. I understand exactly what you mean, though. We jokingly talk about our calendars being everything from Dylan to Dorkton. So we've got the big headline stuff, but we try to go as deep as we can go with all the little stuff. And again, the secret sauce is, just like you're saying, we go get it. If we can get a feed, we'll take a feed. If we can't get a feed, we'll manually enter it. So I have this, the backbone staff right now is me and my son, Jonathan, who happens to live in Jakarta, Indonesia right now. So most of these events are being managed by a guy in Jakarta, Indonesia, but he's a local.
That's been probably the biggest challenge. I've been involved in Greater Mankato events. I created the site, years ago as a free thing because I was part of a group, same heart as you, Don, just want to do something good for the community, working with a couple of other, collaborators. And that's been like the biggest thing, is getting people to put things into it. And the labor to sit and put stuff in, manually is expensive. You're lucky you've got something, that you've worked out to be able to do that. But, sustainability is a concern. We've been, at this for 6 years and haven't been able to generate that, that critical mass of people putting things in on their own. It's tricky, but I'm sure that you can figure it out. I love your energy. That's awesome.
We've got it down to a science. Under normal times, not these times. We've got it down to a science. We've got a list of over 200 calendars that we go over, and we really do have it down. It's a very affordable thing for us, and we'll continue to do that. So it is sustainable, but that's the model. The model is we're going to go do it. Now, if people send us stuff, that's great, but we want to make it as easy for people to send us stuff as possible. I won't mention any names right now, but there's some fairly large event hosts in the city that have said, because we can just send it to you, we want to use your calendar. So it's been very successful for that reason too.
All right, Don, to finalize everything today, what as a community can we do for you to help your business grow?
All right, obviously visit and share. You know, get to the site, share it on Facebook, tell people about it. I actually had some little mini business cards printed up for this occasion when I first found out I was going to be doing this. They don't do us any good right now, but just get the word out there however you can. That's the big thing. Our traffic is growing. Our traffic is down with the crisis right now, but that's the biggest thing you can do. All right, and here's the next biggest thing. I want to say that I am both Mankato's life's biggest asset, and I'm also its biggest liability. If you're familiar with disc profiling, the D, the first letter, is about dominance or drivenness. It can be put a few different ways. I fall about as low as you can possibly get in the D category. And that means that nothing is urgent in my heart and mind, nothing. That's just how I am. I'll get to it, it's okay, it'll all be good. And on top of that, I almost go off the scale on introversion. You know, I can fake social interaction pretty well. I can fake the public face of this thing, but I'm a developer. I want to sit at my desk, I want to work on the site, you know, I want to do the content, I want to do the creative stuff. So here's my number one biggest need, and I'm trying to be transparent about this, let you know, if this is going to thrive and succeed, I need to partner up with someone who is a high D on disc, someone who's driven, someone who's business savvy, someone who would love to be the face of this thing in the community. This is my most desperate need. I am doing this thing on my own. I've got some fairly high capacity, but I need to partner with someone, and I don't know what that means. Maybe it's an employee, maybe it's an equity partner. I don't know. If you know someone who's in a position to take on a startup that they can, you know, this is a startup. There's not a lot of cash at first. They're going to have to be someone who's got some flexibility to work on this thing and go get the money. You know, that's what we're talking about. But someone who can drive the business, who's business savvy. I'm not talking about an intern. I don't care how old they are. If someone is driven like this and knows what they're doing and they're ready and they're 22, fantastic. If they're 60, fantastic. I don't care. The only other thing that really, really matters to me is that they share some of my values. The key thing being, I care deeply about treating everyone like I want to be treated. So my business model is win-win. I'm never going to sell an advertisement to someone who doesn't need to be advertising here. If they don't belong here, I'm going to say, you know, you could spend your money better somewhere else. So even in the midst of their drivenness, they need to be kind and thinking about other people. That's my values, and I couldn't work with someone who wasn't like that. Now, I understand that with me being a low D and someone else being a high D, we're automatically setting ourselves up for conflict. I get it. We'll have to figure out how to work that through. But if you know that person, we'll make a creative arrangement. I'll give away part of the business if I have to find that person and get them involved. That's my most desperate need. I need someone to drive Mankato Life right now because I'm not a driver.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Don. You guys can shoot chats, personal chats, if you have ideas or anything for Don during this process, but we're going to jump into, let's see here. We're going to jump into the community news. So if you have any community news that you would like to share, please let us know. I'll start you off. We actually had through our company, we had a 12-week Financial Fit 2020 kickoff. It's an online, and it's 12 weeks. It started, well, it's technically started last week. It's every Monday. We had over 27 people that attended that just from our area, and the feedback was incredible. So during times like today, or during times like these, we know business owners, entrepreneurs, we know just the community itself is struggling with knowing everything that's going on financially. So we would love to be able to plug people into that. That is free, no obligation, just learn the rules of money in all different areas. Who's next? Gary, do you have anything on community news, or Yvonne?
Yeah, this is Gary. Maybe there is one thing that.
What's up? Mike Hahn here. I got some things that I can cover.
Go for it, Mike.
Oh, no problem, Gary. Just wanted to tell everybody that you're probably aware of this, that the federal government yesterday, everything seems to be in place as far as to refund the Paycheck Protection Program and also the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Programs through the SBA. We're going to have Brian McDonald, who is the SBA Minnesota District Director. We will be putting that up on our Facebook post and also on our website with the link to the Zoom meeting. And that'd be a great opportunity to ask the SBA District Director as far as what's happening and how are things.
Jim, do you have a question or a comment or community news?
We're talking about this, Jim?
I'm sorry, Jane. Hey, hi.
Hi.
Jim.
Jim Whitlock, you're muted. I've tried to unmute you, but maybe you have to do that yourself on your iPad.
I was just going to say I was going to announce an event that we didn't actually have right there in that same room that we normally meet in with Mike Hahn's support, and it had to do with transition planning for agricultural businesses. But we had a great start. Julie Frederickson did a wonderful job of promotion, and the Farm Service Agency shared that and invited people from their district, which is, I don't know, 15 counties. But we had to cancel it. So we'll try something else later.
I'm sorry, I can hear you now, Ivan.
Go ahead, Jim. You had your hand up, so I thought you had a community.
Oh, I didn't know. Maybe I didn't cancel that. I did speak earlier, so.
Okay.
There, now it's canceled. Never mind.
No problem. Just want to make sure we didn't miss you.
Thank you.
Julie Frederickson, why don't you let everybody know about our women event?
Oh, I'll try here. My kids are driving me crazy this morning. Sorry. Well, this is all you should be saying it. So Women Being Business is going on in a virtual format here over the next few weeks. We have one event on Thursday, April 30th, and one on Thursday, May 14th from 5:30 to 7 via Zoom. You can find it on Facebook. We have the event out there. It should be fun. It's for women business owners and professionals, just some time to socialize and network while we're all, or most of us, are pretty isolated and needing some connection.
Awesome. Thank you, Julie. And we are on to the next part, unless we have something else.
It's time for a dice roll.
Oh, perfect.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here and show you the dice roller. I found a better one the last time. So if I exclude our organizers, we have about 20 people that are here. And if we go by first name, how about we go by that? We go by everybody's first name alphabetically. So excluding the organizers, look through the names and figure out what number you are. Let's see if we, I wish I could sort everybody's names alphabetically. Let me see if I can do something that would give me that. Because I can roll a dice here real quick and give us a 1 in 20 number, but then we have to just figure out who wins. I can figure that out afterwards, but I'll do the dice roll real quick. So I got a 20-sided dice all at once. So number 8 is going to win. So the 8th person after A, in terms of your first name, will be the winner, and I will announce that later. It'll take me a minute to figure it out. I'll go back to the PowerPoint for us. Yay for whoever won, yeah. All right, that was the famous dice roll. I was talking to Don, he won last week's mug. And what I'm gonna do is I'll go down to the center and I'll pick up a few of the mugs, and then I'll contact you with an address to come and pick up your mug whenever you want. All right, time for our community sharing and discussion. We can use the raise hand and Tabitha can call on you, or unmute yourselves. We've been doing pretty good with people not talking over each other. But we can unmute you as we need to. So community questions to discuss. So what we're looking for this time, last time we talked about kind of, what was happening with everyone in terms of COVID. What we're looking now is for creative entrepreneurial responses to COVID that either you've done or that you've seen people do, as you've been out and about, or that you've heard about. What are some creative entrepreneurial responses that have been happening locally? Or how is your business coping? And what can the community do to help? So those are the questions to discuss. If anybody has anything to share, pop your hand up. Julie Fredrickson is right there. So I'll unmute you first, Julie, and everybody else can think about what they'd like to share. We'll try and get all the way around the room. Julie, you can go ahead and unmute and go for it. Go for it.
So I don't really have anything that I've seen that is currently being done, or at least that's not what I have on my mind. Yesterday, as a part of SCORE, we were on a meeting yesterday morning, and Jim Gibson brought up and Wendell, the struggles that farmers are going through right now. And I just would like to put out there the queue for some creative ideas to help our area farmers, whether it's just in support and reaching them. It's kind of Jim's area of expertise. It's not mine at all. I didn't so much as grow up on a farm. So if you have any creative ideas that we can do some outreach, we tend to do a lot of this for our, Main Street businesses, or even our at-home businesses that I largely am as well. But I feel like sometimes the farmers kind of get forgotten because they're maybe not quite as technology-based as we might be in different industries. So if you have any ideas, please reach out to Jim or I. Really have kind of something on my heart right now to reach out and try to help.
I popped one into chat, and if anybody else has any other ideas, put that in there. Otherwise, let's see who else. Anybody else that have ideas, go ahead and unmute yourself. Bobby, go for it.
Yeah, I in response to that, I would just like to remind about Rural Renaissance and their new for the rural farming community in Blue Earth, Minnesota. They just came out with a new application called Croptimize, and I think if you get a hold of Janie Hansen or the Rural Renaissance people in Blue Earth, Minnesota, they would have a lot to contribute to the rural farming communities.
Cool. I just added a little note that it's an app to help farmers get their best prices. If you Google that, you can find a link to it. So stories of creative entrepreneurial responses to COVID. We talked a lot about restaurants and bars last time, and I was thinking about, some of the retail things. Example I gave last time was Jenna Opegard at Bumbaloo converting to cutting out masks and making cloth mask kits. And then she's giving kits to seamstresses who are sewing up masks. This was one that This is kind of a fun one. This is one not made by Jana, but this was made by another person. There's a lot of seamstresses in the area that are, converting to making masks. This one has little bumblebees on it, and kind of having a little bit of fun with the fabrics and stuff. But, finding a way to make some money, doing the things they already know how to do. So Tyler, go for it.
So some of the things I've seen are hands-on based businesses that are hyper local in their service area. Some of them are beginning the transition to a digital revenue stream through like YouTube monetization to like a channel. So somebody that, like, let's take a physical therapist, for example, might be able to provide like stretches or things that people can be doing to prevent carpal tunnel from working from home at this point, where they're creating short little videos that can be monetized at some point. And obviously that's not a quick process. Sometimes it can be a 1.5 or 2 year process of getting monetized, because YouTube has some pretty stringent requirements for getting money from them. One of the other things I saw, although it makes me a little nervous, is I saw a local church is holding services in their parking lot where everybody stays in their vehicles. It's kind of like a drive-in theater scenario. It makes me a little nervous, but I guess it's the best of what you can do with this, with what we're given. So,
Hey, clever solutions like that are, what we've got to do. That's a good one. I've heard of coffee shops and places like that have Wi-Fi. Opening, telling people they can come and pull up and use the Wi-Fi, and they'll bring a coffee out to the car, and just call in your order or whatever. That's kind of a neat one. Gary, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, in another call earlier, and so I really defer to Michael or Audra, who I think are both still online, is I'm interested in those companies that are retooling, and UCU and New Ulm retooled the products that they're using the same processes, but focused on different products. And so it seems to me companies, and then and Michael can give the more specifics with respect to UCU, should be looking at, or could be looking at, what else can we do with our people to retool and go a different direction in terms of a product, but using the equipment and processes we have to make a new product that might be, germane at this time. Obviously the things with PPEs and ventilators and so forth. So Michael, maybe you or Audra could share, what UCU, if people hadn't heard that story, and maybe that triggers thoughts of other companies and what they might be able to do.
Yeah, so UCU started making masks out of some. So UCU, just so you know, is an upholstery company. They do things like golf carts, benches for locker rooms. They're a really, really well-known company. They create really quality products, and they're out of New Ulm. So they retooled and started making masks, but more recently they're getting medical grade fabric to make full gowns that are washable. So that they don't melt. So a lot of these products, when they go through their cleaning process, go through a really heated process to kill all the germs. And normal fabric is either melting if it has polyester in it, or is just not making it through a couple cycles. So they actually just got in a bunch of medical grade fabric so that they can make full gowns that can be washed and sanitized for the medical staff here in New Ulm. The other company that is retooling is Windings. So you don't hear a lot about Windings, but they do crazy good things. For instance, they make electric motors for NASA, Ferrari. So they're in a lot of different industries, but recently they used their 3D printers to make full mask guards for the nursing hospitals and Oak Hills senior living. So they are retooling as well to really help the community out. And they also are making some adjustable bands for the back of the head for masks as well. And I know those are going to multiple communities. So.
Thanks, Michael. Michael Augerquist had something to share. Go ahead, Mike.
Hello, thanks for having me here. I came in to give some moral support for Don because I'm hoping I was one of the creative people that he was referring to as I've been contributing articles. But usually during the day, I'm a Vine Faith in Action person who coordinates programming. And we were very lucky. We were approached by the Center for Interactive Learning and Collaboration in Upper North Mankato, and we received a $6,000 grant from the Mankato Area Foundation's Senior Fund and have been putting on online interactive educational programs. Now we're in our second week. And yesterday we were at the Royal Botanical Gardens near Ontario, having a live presentation talking about chocolate. And that was a tasty presentation, to say the least. But I just wanted to encourage people, if you are looking for some online ways, it is a Zoom format, so it's very easy once you've mastered the login to be able to go on there. Go to vinevolunteers.com and you will see a link to Roam from Home is the program name, and you can sign up. They are very good at sending you the confirmation. They send you a reminder a day before. They send you a reminder an hour before. So if you're at your computer, you have no reason to miss that. And we've got actually on Thursday, we are going to Jerusalem. So that would be a wonderful presentation to share with people who are isolated, looking for ways to stay engaged. Like I say, we use the chat feature to interact. And it's been really good. I've sat in on all 4 of them so far. So I would encourage that. As the program coordinator at Vine, I'm looking at that as a potential way to expand our programming into the future too, because it brings in people beyond the local, but also with a local connection if you can make that connection as well.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
That gets me thinking about, the nonprofits in the area, what sorts of creative things, they might be doing to continue operations and stuff too. I know Ben's doing a lot of Zoom meetings to carry on and keep talking.
That reminds me, Yvonne, of Singing Hills Choir had to retool for their dementia choir, and they are doing just a Facebook thing now, but soon they will be Zooming, I'm sure. And if you have any people who like singing and are in a dementia state, Singing Hills Choir on Facebook.
Great. Yeah, I've seen a few discussions online where they talked about what sorts of things do we need, as we start to come out of our homes and go back into workplaces and stores and schools and that sorts of things. What sorts of products or services are going to be needed to help keep people safe in that period of time between the time that, we come back out of our homes and before there's a vaccine? Plastic separation devices in offices, perhaps, cleaning stations, all sorts of, ideas are starting to come out of that could be, entrepreneurial ventures or opportunities for people to retool to make. But I think that we're just beginning of all sorts of opportunities for entrepreneurs here to help out, and to be part of the recovery. Let's see, someone mentioned Jim Gibson, a TV advertisement for hand sanitizer. By the gallon, available at Drummers. Oh yeah, Drummers is doing that. That's right. My daughter works at Drummers. I should have remembered that one. Yeah, they're making hand sanitizer by the gallon that you can buy at Drummers as a way to kind of kickstart their season. Of course, they're going to start doing orders where you can order the plants and then drive up, and your order will be sitting there, and just load it in your car and go, rather than walking through the store. I think
it seems like that's a good example of an entrepreneurial response to a crisis.
Really is.
They have the process and the packaging know-how, and right next to the plant in Waseca is an ethanol production plant. The parent company of that is already been announcing that they have been shipping out undenatured ethanol for that purpose.
Sure.
So I'm glad to see some local entrepreneurial behaviors in our own communities.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's one of the things we need to celebrate is, that people are picking up the needs and trying to fill them. Hey, Bobby, you had something else?
No, I'm good. Thank you. Excellent show. Thank you.
All right. We don't have anything else. We're getting pretty close to 9:30. Anybody else have anything else they wanted to share? Entrepreneurial ideas or needs, perhaps needs that you know of in the community to throw out to the group. And, you know, we have a lot of entrepreneurs here and we can talk to other entrepreneurs and let them know there's a need. Go ahead, Jim.
We have an expert on government funding right in our midst, maybe more than one, but Gary Sandholm seems to be in the catbird seat in Waseca. So if he hasn't already reported, I'd be curious to know what he's confronted with as the economic development coordinator there.
Gary, you've been called out.
Yes, I have. I've been working with a lot of our small businesses with a emergency loan fund. We prepared to put up to $10,000 per business. We've had greater demand than we've had money, so we have not been able to fund the $10,000. But some of the key things are that if a business borrows from must stay in operation for at least 6 months, half of the loan is forgiven. It's 0% throughout the life of the loan, and the payments are tailored to be very, very easy after we get past the initial crisis. We're going to have over 30 loans that will be closing the first round, the end of the first round tomorrow, and then in a couple of weeks we'll be doing some supplemental work with these borrowers to distribute the remainder of the funding of the
Yvonne, I can't hear Gary.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Gary, we're not getting very good audio from you, so I wasn't able to understand virtually anything of what you just said. I don't know if anybody else was having that same problem, but maybe you could share the key points of what you just said in chat, and then we can get the idea, or give us a website where we could get more information.
Okay.
Because yeah, the audio was just not coming through very well.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay, well, I'm gonna turn things back to Tabitha to wrap up for the day, and I've got our last little slide here to let her know what's happening next week.
Awesome. Great job, everyone. Thank you so much. These are going really slick. I love it. So we will see you next week, same time, Wednesday at 8:30 a.m. for, we have no touch. Sorry. Can't even see. I can't even read my own screen today. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Stay safe, my friends, and thanks for all the community connections.
Thanks, everybody.